Yeah, baby. Yeah. The Mac is back. Back with another video. Hello, the initiated. My name is Marcus Junikala, and today we're checking out Pacific Solo Strings by Performance Samples. I'm sure many of you, like myself, have been waiting for this for quite a while. Performance Samples seem to be developing multiple libraries simultaneously. And obviously that's a lot of work. And luckily they kind of involve us in the development process as well. So we know what's coming, we get updated of what's coming. But also, you know, we end up waiting for this stuff for quite a bit because, well, obviously it's a lot of work. Things always take longer than you think. And then, you know, we're anxious and excited to get a hold of some of this sweet stuff. But the waiting is over. Pacific Solo Strings is here. We checked out the ensemble strings from them when it came out, and indeed it is one of the best string sample libraries out there. And this is, you know, going in the same vein as that. I think they call this an addendum to that library. Based on examples of what I've heard of this, at least in those, it has sounded absolutely fantastic. So excited to, you know, see how it has turned out. In terms of what this is, so Pacific itself, they call the classical symphonic orchestra, and that is going to have at least brass, I think at least percussion. Not sure about woodwinds, but yeah, it's going to have that classical symphonic orchestra sound. And in solo strings, you get a solo violin and a solo cello, and that's it. No violas, no basses. Obviously, these are going to cover the most ground, most of what you need, so that's perfectly fine by me. They say has core articulations and recorded in standard first chair positions. Also, addition of new mic position, which is really cool. Section mic, which is somewhere between the far AB mics and the close mic, but strongly biasing towards the close. Personally, very excited to hear what this sounds like. For me, the biggest part of performance sample stuff that doesn't fit my taste the best is the sound of the space that they've been using. It could also be how they decide to stylistically record it, but I think it's the sound of the space. Most of the performance sample releases, to me and my taste and the sound that I'm going for, have a bit too much reverb, and it kind of results in this a bit of a mushiness that accumulates, and it can get a bit dense when it comes to the mixing phase. Now, this absolutely does very much depend on what kind of music you want to be writing, if you want to be, and what kind of a sound you want to go for. For more sort of classical, typical stuff, it lends itself better to that. But yeah, it can be an overbearing amount of reverb, certainly to me. So I personally end up using pretty much exclusively the strong mics, the close mics, and I usually end up trying to suck some of the reverb out even more, so I can get a bit more control and less of that kind of density that results out of that. I also don't know what it is, but the reverberation itself sounds a bit like sounds very compressed to me, and I'm pretty sure they don't actually compress it, certainly not to any sort of a drastic degree. Maybe they have a tiny bit of controlling compression when they're tracking, but I'm pretty sure, I mean, based on what I know of the company, that you know, they don't, you know, smash their compressors going in the way in. But yeah, the sound of it's that's why I suspect it's the space, because it sounds like kind of the space is compressing the reverberation itself. I don't know if that makes any sense to some of you out there, but hopefully some. But yeah, it ends up sounding very sort of dense and thick, and that's why the reverberation can be a bit too much for me. So I'm interested, because of that, in hearing what this new position sounds like, because even with the closed mics, I end up trying to get rid of even more reverb and do a bunch of tricks on it and a bit of EQ to lessen that. I did hear snippets from Fluid Shorts 3, which sounded a lot more sort of focused and a bit sharper sounding, very much so compared to Fluid Shorts 2. So excited to hear whether it's more, whether it has more to do with something else other than the sound of the space, maybe something due to the other components of the development. But I wanted to say that just so you know where I stand. I love the libraries. I love how playable they are, how expressive they are, how realistic and soulful they are. But that has really been my kind of main, I can't even say gripe, because that's, again, comes down to preference and those kind of things. But that just has been the main thing that hasn't, it hasn't been a perfect fit for me. So just so you know, where I stand with it. But other than that, I just love performance samples stuff, in and out. So cool. There is very specific special intro period pricing on this. So if you have any of the libraries that qualify for any kind of a discount, go to the website and check them out. They get kind of specific about, obviously, what you need to have bought prior to have a discount, and also how to apply those discounts. Read the instructions so you don't miss out. I really love the loyalty pricing scheme. Scheme? Is that a word? I guess it is. The loyalty pricing system that they use. The discounts are very hefty. So, that feels good as a user, as a customer, really liking that. And yeah, those kind of pricings bring these libraries or make them more accessible to more people. Full price, they can be quite heavy. But again, pricing is very much related or in relation to what you'll be getting out of it. Whether it's a lot for you or not. Certainly if you're unlocking a sound that you've been after your entire life, then a high price for someone like that is going to be different for someone who thinks it's like a good library. Cool. Intro period until September 16th. So that's a long time. Very, very exceptional. Again, if you did buy Pacific Ensemble strings, this is free. So awesome. And yeah, if you purchase one of these, you get the chance to buy Vista 2 solo cellos and Fluid Shorts 3, even cheaper. Cool. So included, you got solo violin, solo cello. In terms of articulations, in solo violin, you have legato, which is monophonic, sustains, one dynamic. Okay, interesting. So espressivo, cool, goes apparently pretty loud. 3 types of legato: slur, bow change, and bow change portamento. Cool, same note repetitions with, okay, cool. Then you have Marcatos, you got Harmonics, motion tremolos, staccatos, Spiccatos, and then Pizzicatos. Solo cello, looks like you have the same legato sustain here. One type of legato, a bias towards portamento, especially on the higher register. So seems like they've really gone, how do you say this? By the terms of the recordings themselves, it seems like they're listening to what's happening, what's taking place, and they are adjusting to that to make that sound the best it can possibly be. So they're not trying to cover absolutely everything, cover all the ground in the world, but rather go by the terms of the sounds and the libraries, the library itself, you know, the way it seems to be coming together. At least that's the impression I get, because yeah, some of these are like oddly specific, and why you would do that in one place versus another seems like you're just want to go for the best possible sound, and then the chips kind of fall where they may. But as always, don't go simply based on what it says here and what it lists in a list. Go listen to it yourself and decide for yourself, and you'll understand if you want to use it in your music or not. Marcatos, harmonics, motion tremolos. That one is definitely interesting. Staccatos, spiccatos, pizzicatos. Recorded in an ambient hall with close section and AB mics. 48 kilohertz, 24-bit. NCW compressed, 6.26 gigabytes total. And this is built for Contact 6.8.0 and above. And you need full retail version of Contact for this. No player business over here. And download happens via Continuada, which isn't my favorite downloader in the world. And it did actually, again today, just freeze on me 3 times before I could download this. But, you know, it's still, once it works, it's pretty swift. And yeah. Cool. Well, that's pretty much it. I was just going to jump into Studio One. So this is the interface in typical performance samples fashion. They don't, you know, put a ton of you know, work and detail in here, and they've been very clear about this. You know, it's to focus on the sound and deliver that to composers, and fine by me, fair enough. Seems like they have their priorities straight. Could these interfaces be better? Well, it's a matter of function. You know, if this doesn't have a functionality beyond what it provides here, then the question is, well, do we need to? Do we have to? Does it matter? These are all good questions. Would I prefer a nicer looking interface? Sure, why not? But not a deal breaker here. When you open this up, and again, you do need to use full version of Contact, this is what you see here. So we're going to go, excuse me, I'm trying really hard not to vomit in my mouth right now. We're just going to go in order. So we're going to start with the cellos, and we have the harmonics loaded up here. This is what it looks like, and I cannot make the screen any kind of smaller here for you. So this is the best it's going to look here. But let's just start playing and see what happens. I got my mod wheel here to try and do my dynamics as best as possible. You'll only be hearing Pacific solo strings in action. I don't add any effects, no EQ, no reverb, nothing. This is just the way it comes out of the box. I have a limiter on the master bus just to bring the level to a decent place for this video. But that being said, it's set to be as transparent as possible. So you shouldn't hear much coloration, if any, at all. And certainly if I manage to blow out the limiter with this library, then I'll let you know. And yeah, we're not squashing anything here by any means. So I think those are really the basics. Let's start playing. Oh yeah, I should say this is a blind demo. I haven't played a single note of this before. I've obviously heard some demos of this throughout the months that this has been in development, but that's all. I haven't played this at all myself, so. So yeah, quite a bit of dynamic range, especially here in the lower half of the mod wheel. I feel like beyond it, it kind of gets density of the texture more than, you know, any kind of volume increase. And actually, there is a bit of that. It's really the last, maybe fifth, where it kind of stays in the same zone. So really liking the texture, the sound. It's obviously very organic and raw. You can hear all the details, and it's quite noisy in a very, very good way. And obviously we're talking about harmonics, so that's going to be, hopefully that's going to be the case, because that's kind of a big part of the sound. Really actually liking the sound here. It's not overbearingly reverberant at all. Let's listen to the different mics soloed here. I also will emphasize that some of the transitions here in the top half sound a lot more natural and better to me. Like here you can hear some of it's more abrupt, the changes you do. It does, obviously, the dynamics play a lot into that, and obviously the part writing that it makes sense and sounds natural, but there is a bit of a difference here there for me. Actually I want to solo the mid position. So I'm really actually impressed by how the full mic mix here sounds super solid. Like that sounds spot on to me, like the movement here. I wouldn't say that for the lower octave here. And obviously this is a solo strings library, so you have to remember that, and I'm playing, you know, fifths and you know, sustaining notes, etc. So you should take that into account. But here, yeah, it sounds very much like a harmonium more. I mean, it sounds like strings the most, don't get me wrong, but it has a harmonium kind of a quality here. And I'm doing pretty slow movements. But yeah, the transitions here are a bit sort of not as smooth as up in here in this octave. But yeah, I love the sound. This will very much obviously come down to the part you're writing and you know, how you draw in the dynamics, etc. Also, you want to pay attention to the overlap between the notes, so that it's actually because sometimes a bit of overlap will make it actually sound better than having a precise point of transitioning on the note. Going into cello legato. Well, they didn't really joke when they said it's forte to I don't know, I don't remember what the other one was, but it's, yeah, it goes hard. Oh yeah, that's the shit. Yeah, this is really good. Like, this is the performance samples stuff. This is their shit. Slightly, I mean, like, obviously beautiful for this sound, like sort of harder, more intense solo. I really wish I could go like super quiet and then, you know, kind of rise into this super intense louder sound. I would really love to go like super sensitive and quiet. I will say that even though there is clearly not like a textural, like it doesn't go into a different play style when I go down in the mod wheel, but that being said, it actually kind of emulates that effect pretty well. Like, you can still, this is super, you know, expressive once you start digging into the mod wheeling, so you can kind of get a pseudo effect of that. You will obviously not hear the textural change here down in the lower third of the range that you might be looking for if you were going for a complete change in sound, like a softer expression. But this is really well done for this sound still. But I mean, if you know, if you're doing like a more intense solo, you know, line, then this is gonna be really good. Sorry if I'm touching my chest all the time. I have this thingy-majingy here, which is tracking my heart right now. So I'm gonna have this for a few days. And whatever you call it, the glue there, the stuff that actually, well, no, not the glue, it's the goo underneath that conducts the electricity. That is something I don't know if I'm allergic to it, but it irritates the shit out of my skin. So let's play a bit more and not talk about my skin irritation. Yeah, even there, it works surprisingly well. I can hear that it still wants to kind of be, I want to go harder, Marcus, but it's like, it's still pretty expressive, even though I don't quite hear the textural change that I want to have, but it gets pretty darn close even with that. Because even there in the lower range, you can hear that it's still pulling pretty hard on the string. But they still did a really good job on that. And there's still a number of tricks you can pull to make it even softer sounding. Play with the mic positions and do a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, this plays so nicely. And immediately just very expressive. I would need to do very minimal programming on this. Yeah, really good. That's the only thing, like it doesn't, would be beautiful if this was also paired with like a sweeter, softer playing style, and then kind of, you know, that would take care of the bottom half of the dynamic range and this would be at the top. That would be like perfect solo, cello, legato. But for this sound, this is stellar, really, really, really good. Marcatos. Okay, we are blowing the limiter at this stage, so let's pull that back. Yeah, that's really well programmed. It understands when I want to go faster and quicker, and it maps it perfectly, so that's really cool. I will also say that I've had none of the like, I actually like this sound of the space a lot, so maybe it's not the space, maybe it's how it's, you know, being done on the other fronts of the development, but obviously this sort of gets... Let me play a bit more. It's a really good sound, like raw, you know, raspy. I like it. A bit of the imaging, it's sort of, I understand where it's placed in the section or the position of the orchestra when it's mic'd, but there's a bit of a loss on the left channel here, and it just feels like obviously there's nothing there playing. But if I compare yeah, a bit of a dead zone there. I would expect to just hear more of the space and the reverberation there, but it's sort of like cutting out. It could also be my really weird symptoms that I get every once in a while, because I do have a bit of like hearing loss every once in a while in certain areas, but I don't think this is it. Let's just double check to be fair towards the library. I'll play a bit of the legato. Yeah, I don't think it's me. I'm also getting super hot, so I gotta take off this. Gotta take off the shirt. There we go. We're gonna ditch the harness here for just time time management sake. Yeah, but it's I feel like the stereo field gets very focused there, sort of excessively, because I would expect to hear a bit of reverberation and imaging there, but it's just sort of like disappearing. So I would want to change that. But these play really nicely. I mean, when you go like fast, it understands what you want to do. Very good. Very good. Okay, so interesting. These ones are the motion tremolos. I wonder how much I should actually understand about this technically from a technical standpoint before I play anything, but so I've seen and heard Jasper do some examples of that, and he has, I mean, it sounds really good. I'm sure I understand what I should be doing from a use perspective. I mean, part writing here is definitely a big part of it, so you can't just be expecting to, you know, arpeggiate your way into making that sound decent. It needs to be more sensible to the instrument. But I wonder if it's, yeah, I don't know, maybe there's a kind of an angle of attack to make it sing. But yeah, I mean, in terms of a tremolo otherwise, again, it gets a bit aggressive on its sound, on its sound for sure, but really good sounding. And it did, you know, work even with my half-baked idea there. Did play quite differently to, because if you play tremolos from other string libraries, they don't really move well. So I understand why he wanted to try and create that, to, you know, serve that kind of a play style. These are the Pizzicatos. So right off the bat, really liking this. Oftentimes Pizzicatos, a lot of libraries make them very sort of poppy. I don't mean like pop in the genre, but like they sound like they're sort of trying to pop. They're very clear. But here, when you play, there's a good delay to the actual, you know, plucking of the note. And these sound super, super soft, like far softer than a lot of pizzicatos go really hard, and that's not a very pleasant sound in many cases. These are really good. Again, here, I'm not at all bothered by the reverberation of the space, the sound of the space. So it must not be the space, it must be some other aspect of the development. Because this is definitely reverberant, but I actually like this sound of the space. I have to say, they're tiny, like details like grains and textures and noises that pop out every once in a while, and they're absolutely beautiful. This is super nice. Very good. There you can hear a bit of the kind of the Saki compressor type of a sound that I mean about the space, but here it actually sounds quite a bit of a very pleasant quality, kind of a very unique sound. I really like it. Almost makes it sound a bit like it's going through like a reverse delay or something like that. And here again, you can a bit of like the reverberation in the back there. It sounds a bit like a compressor is sucking on it, and a bit of a like reverse delay. This is the quality that has not been a good fit with me in many of the other libraries, because it feels like they go super hard on that, and it's probably like obviously the sound, the sample of the space being recorded, and then it kind of accumulates when you play more notes, so it begins to be very dense. But I feel like here it's captured a lot better. Now that I play more of it, I can hear that, you know, that quality. A bit of it gives this kind of that energy and that realism, but it feels a bit like a, you know, a two-edge. What's the saying? I'm so tired right now, by the way, so I'm I'm a bit not in the optimal state for a demo recording. Double-edged sword, because it's kind of creating yeah, it creates a bit of that organic vibe, but it can also get a bit tiring to the ear. So I could turn off the AB mics. You can hear it in the back there. It's kind of like a reverse delay effect almost. So yeah, even when I have only the close mics on, you can hear it there in the background. And that's what I mean by some of the other libraries, where even when I go with the close mic, there's still a fair bit of reverberation there. But here, so yeah, you need to, you know, cut it out if you find it excessive, but obviously that's contextual. But yeah, here I feel like they've that's a much better end result. Like they're honing in on a better capture and balance of, you know, the authenticity and the organicness of the space, meeting, yeah, let's just leave it at that. I'm way too tired to try and finish a sentence at this point. Spiccatos. Super impressive how it even when you play super fast, it sounds very realistic and very raw, like in a very good way. Beautiful dynamics, by the way. And again here, the reverberation doesn't bother me. That's a very nice sounding, natural space. Let me try without the ABs. Yeah, the space sounds really good. So I'm not bothered by that. Again, this is something that was very much improved already in Pacific ensembles. So, you know, not surprised from that perspective. I always struggle to play any kind of sensible spiccato stuff. And now that I'm super exhausted, it probably will get only worse. There's also the fact that performance samples have a bit more delay in the playing than compared to most libraries, which results in usually a better realism, but obviously can make playing a bit tricky, especially for fast stuff. Those are my excuses anyway. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful control over the dynamics there. You know, when I hit really hard, that's probably a bit too excessive to what I would write for a part like that. But yeah, beautiful playability, just fantastic sounding. Let's go to staccato. Again, here the reverberation gets far more excessive than it's really hard to pinpoint what it is. Because in the spiccato, not bothered by the same texture as I am here. It's there where I play a lot of notes closer to one another. Feels like the reverberation aspect is sort of piling in on itself. It becomes quite dense. Also not sure about this attack profile. It's like a bit of a build and then kind of a pretty aggressive pluck there, or kind of a stroke. Yeah, I'm not sure what I would do with that. In the low end here, that sounds really, really nice. Staccatos are kind of, though, a bit strange to me. It's very contextual, where I would, you know, use them as opposed to Spiccatos. But yeah, I'm not the attack profile makes it a bit here, sort of. It's so aggressive paired with the reverberation there. It's a bit tough for me to find a place for that. Going into violins. So these are harmonics. Jeez, these go really high up. Running out of a keyboard here, but these to me seem a bit less expressive than the cello did. I can't remember which way it went. Yeah, the top end was more expressive there. This kind of suffers from the same... Like, okay, I'll try and play at least a bit better, to be fair. So that has a unique sound. Again, it kind of reminds me of a harmonium there with some of the harmonics there. Like note timing and note triggering. Big difference here. I know that sounds probably obvious in many cases, but with a lot of libraries, it doesn't matter that much. Here, the textural overlap is so, the texture is so rich that the overlap can make it super realistic sounding and a lot kind of more natural sounding. I feel like there's less textural change here. There's clearly volume change and a bit of like density change. I don't feel like I can go super like sensitive and quiet. It kind of, there's a consistent push to it. But I do like the core. First of all, the noise profile is really pleasant. It does come across as a bit kind of reedy in certain places, but it does also give a very kind of unique different sound to it. You can obviously, they sound like string harmonics, but it has a bit of a kind of a glassier tone to it. All right, legato. Yeah, beautiful, very expressive, soulful. I really like how the top end also, it can go high and hard, but it remains very realistic, natural. It doesn't get harsh sounding. Like oftentimes a lot of libraries go high up in the register, and it's kind of a beautiful, soaring, powerful sound, but then the frequency balance gets a bit too, like it's just way too harsh for anyone to really listen to it without getting bothered by it. So I think this is a nice balance of expression and emotion and the power, but it's also very nicely balanced. Clearly hear that it doesn't want to do that. But it holds up really, really, really well. Like obviously this is meant to be, you can hear the difference if I go from slower to fast. Like that speed is still absolutely fantastic, really nicely. It's super impressive that it can adjust. Like I want to go slower. It's like, all right, let's go slower. Let's make it musical, beautiful. Then it pick up the pace, and it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. So it feels like it's musically actually responding to what I'm doing. Yeah, really good. Also, you need to be, in fairness to this, I'm not playing it perfectly, so it's you really want to be, with any kind of programming, any kind of orchestral sample library, you want to be very precise about your programming and where the notes land, because that can make a massive difference, and I can clearly feel and hear that it does. So but this is, yeah, fantastic. Mix-wise, a bit of that honkiness, a bit of a kind of a drop at one point, and then a bit too much of that honkiness. So I would deal with that. Very easy to do, no issue there. And again, comes down to the music you're writing, and also the other instruments you're pairing it with. But just on its own, that's the observation I would make. Also, yeah, there's something. It's by no means harsh. There's something in the kind of maybe the top mids that I would look at, but yeah, I mean, really, really good otherwise. Marcatos. pull back the limiter a bit. Again, here the sound of the space comes sort of bearing down upon you a bit more compared to like the legato experience, for example. Yeah, that's like a fair bit of space sound. Like the core sounds super beautiful, very sharp, present, but that's a bit too much to my taste, so I would probably turn off the AB mic. But this has kind of been my experience as an issue for me, that even if I mute the mic, it's not the mic positions themselves that are the issue, it's just some of these articulations have a bit too much space in them, in the actual samples, so you just gotta go in there and try and lessen it to another degree if it bothers you. Again, playability here is fantastic. It knows exactly what I want to do. Does it beautifully. And again, the sound, the reverberation there is very musical, natural sounding. It's not, but it's just like a bit too prominent there to my taste. Even if we do the close mics, I suspect it's going to be the same case. Not as much as I thought, but with that kind of a sound, I would simply use this as a supplementary layer. So this wouldn't be very upfront anyway. What I do like about this is super like sharp, on point, perfect amount of presence and punch. I obviously not like not using Marcato for that kind of stuff, but that sounds actually really good. I think that's a good example of using it for what it sounds like versus what it says. It's remarkable how it can do such fast notes there. My playing is shit, but yeah, I mean, super solid other than the amount of the space in there, but that's subjective. Anyway, motion tremolos. Again, let's do more shitty playing that doesn't present the library in the correct light. Let's pull down that limiter. Okay, that's sounding a bit more like what I heard in the demos. Yeah, that's sounding really fucking good. Yeah, I don't feel like the cello did it quite the same way. This sounds a lot more like fluid and yeah. These are really fucking good. I'm gonna do the walk away. It's happening. That's absolutely fantastic. It's almost sounds like it sounds like it's almost doing it for me there. It's just like taking a life of its own, and I don't need to be like exactly super sharp there with that. But again, this is a good example of how you have to play stuff that would make sense for the actual instrument. So, you know, probably here if it sounds like shit, it might be you. I'm sorry. Like, for example, here, I don't know if that's probably not the best way to finger it. That's what she said, but yeah, that sounds really good. When you hit the spot, it's like, ooh. Yeah, it doesn't quite, I don't know what it is about the lower range. It kind of doesn't mush up too much. And again, this is not like a criticism towards the library itself per se. It's like, is that not, just might not be the right range for that kind of stuff for that instrument. Actually, it doesn't sound so bad. It definitely was not like even at this level for the cello. I don't know if that's like a textural thing for the instrument. Yeah, that sounds actually really good. So, I don't know. Maybe if I go back to the cello, it will be good. This is super good. Like, just tips Fedora. No, that's a different thing. Oh, I feel like I'm a good player when I do that. It's so good, it makes me feel like a good player. That's the highest praise I can give that. Legit, that's... Okay, Pizzicato. Yeah, I like how they do pizzicatos. They're just so soft and, you know, not the usual stuff, which is just like really hard to find use case for it. These are so soft. You could use this in a number of ways where I wouldn't typically even think of using a pizzicato string, because they sort of pluck like some kind of a what instrument am I thinking of? It's like a folk string instrument. But yeah, you could blend this in with a bunch of stuff and make it really like nice in a raw organic way, sort of pluck. Yeah, really nice. Again, they're a bit less of that space in the sample itself would be really nice for my taste. Spiccatos, yes. Got a bit of a brain fart there. Gonna lower the limiter a bit here. Ooh, I really like that top end. Really like those textures, they're really nice. Kind of wandering beyond the range of this instrument. Super impressed again by how it's reading and reacting to the speed at which I'm working. Going slow, it says, yeah, no issue, let's go slow. Medium, no problem. Fast, yeah, I'm here for you, Marcus, doing what you want. It's super, super nice. It just follows the musicality that I want to pursue. This is reads and interprets that super well. Yeah, I could play that all day. Really, really good. Again here, not bothered by the reverberation, the space. It doesn't get overbearing here in the same way. Very nice. Very, very good. Staccato. Here again, the EQ balance, it gets far more honky than the spiccato. That's somewhat due to the articulation itself, but this one doesn't have the kind of the attack profile similar to the cellos, which I think is a great thing because I wasn't very fond of them. This is super nice from that perspective. Yeah, I kind of like these, apart from the EQ thing. Yeah, very, very solid. Okay, that brings us to a close here. Overall, fantastic stuff. I mean, right off the, let's open this window here so I can sort of summarize for you with my extremely beautiful face in the picture. Sure, let's do something like that. I don't know what that was, but so okay. Really at the top, the motion tremolos in violin are just like next level stuff. Just mind blowing, pretty much. And like I said, they made me feel at least like a good player. I don't know if it sounded like that, but they play so well, and it's so musical, and it sounds so appropriate to what would actually happen, that's actually, I think that might be an industry first, because tremolos tend to be very sort of stagnant and very much not responsive in most libraries. So probably an industry first, I would guess. And they play super nicely. I didn't make them sound so good with the cellos, and I suspect it has maybe something to do with the instrument not lending itself as well to that, or maybe I was just shit at that second. Yeah, violin motion tremolos, that's very high praise. Legato sustains, absolutely beautiful, stunning for both instruments. I wish we could have also like a very soft, gentle layer to those, but that's just not something they went for this. Just didn't want to include that style, that sound. So it is what it is. That being said, they did a really good job still mapping quite a bit of expression and dynamic here in the mod wheel in all of its simplicity. But yeah, really good on that front. Pizzicatos, again, I think they do these very uniquely compared to pretty much anyone else that I've heard. They are very soft, plucky, which I really like. And they lend themselves to also many other layering uses, pairing with other instruments and stuff like that. But yeah, very soft, beautiful sounds. Especially was very fond of the cello Pizzicatos. Super nice. And Spiccatos go pretty much in the same category as the Legato sustains. They're just, really good spiccatos, and they read your speed of playing really well and adjust the samples accordingly to that, and probably a bunch of other stuff as well. So yeah, super good. Also, the Marcatos plays it really nice. They track your speed super well, so that's super cool. And again, I like that because it makes the sounds more, the use case is more diverse than just what it actually says on the box, on the title of the articulation. Because sometimes you play an articulation in a certain way and you realize, oh, that kind of sounds different, and yeah, different than what it says on the box, and you know immediately what kind of use case you want to have for it. So kind of the fact that they are so diverse in terms of how they play means that they will lend themselves for many different use cases for layering, and also getting like a texture to be slightly different. Like, let's say you want to go for a spiccato, but maybe even like a fast Marcato playing there would actually be a better sound, even though it's not like Marcato per se. But yeah, something to keep in mind. I feel like the harmonics could be, they could have more scope. I did like them more in the cello. I felt like the violin harmonics sort of were less texturally and dynamically present, but they did have a beautiful noise profile, which is really important in harmonics. And yeah, the general texture of it was very super nice. And some of the octaves to me played and tracked a bit better than others, but it depends on no overlap a bit, because it creates a certain sound there. And again, you need to arrange your part actually in a good way that's sensible for the instrument. So I think that covers pretty much all we want to touch on here. Yeah, very impressive stuff, and definitely happy to have this in the palette, because it will absolutely serve in a good role. I'm sure many of you already have this in your studio or at home, so let me know what you think and let me know of your experiences. I'm sure I ballsed up many things in this video, so let me know what those were and what I should know to, make this work even better. And let me know what you think of this video also. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Finished.